Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Ketchup and this of course is Quakecon 2019 where today we're celebrating Doom. It's 25 years of Doom. This is a community celebration around the world. Shouts to those of you here live in Dallas, Texas, and shouts to those in London for Quakecon London as well. We thought of many different ways to celebrate Doom as a real mainstay franchise in this current age. And what better way to celebrate it with some good old-fashioned speedruns, a community that's been alive for as long as Doom has, and still going extremely strong. We have Doom Eternal right around the corner, where I'm sure plenty of runners are looking to get their hands in. But right now, we're going to play through the entire playable history that Doom has had to offer. But I'm not doing the job by myself, don't worry. I have got some Doom specialists in-house, both playing Doom and, of course, joining me on the couch for some commentary. To my right are two very fine gentlemen. It's going to be Blood Thunder, and it's going to be Zelo. While we're here, I think it's a good opportunity for you guys to give us a bit of a brief introduction, what game you're running, and what Doom speedrunning actually means to you. Starting with you, BT.
So I'm doing Doom 3. I've done all of the Doom. It's been running for about 8 years. But it's a great opportunity to come and show off all the stuff that we've been working on so hard. We've had opportunities at like Games Done Quick events. If anyone's seen those, I'm sure if you've watched Speedrunning, you're definitely familiar with that. But to be on the stage at Quakecon, celebrating Doom in 25 years, it's just something special. So definitely looking forward to it.
And then for me, so I'll be running Doom 64, and it's just great just being able to do Doom on the big stage. These are games that we've played over and over and over as kids, and so to be able to just share that experience of what we've been able to do with the game over the years and bring that to you, it's just really exciting.
Yeah, I think as someone who's been a fan of speedrunning for a long time, it's kind of nice to see you guys all under one roof at QuakeCon, you know, of all places. You guys are very, very familiar with playing at the marathons around the world, and I think that's where a lot of you guys, especially, you know, to my left, KingDime, who's going to be running Ultimate Doom, where you guys really made a name for yourselves. Have got the schedule, so you can see what game's being run where and by who, as far as I'm aware. So it's going to be starting right now. We have Ultimate Doom, which is being run by none other than KingDime. He's also going to be running Doom 2 after that. And then after that, Doom 64, ran by Zelo. Blood Thunder with Doom 3. Bite Me, who we'll be seeing a little bit later, commentating some Doom 3 a little bit later in the day, with Doom 2016. And then a really special occasion at the end of the day, the Mars Core demo race from Doom Eternal. You guys have been practicing a little bit, you know, not too much practice. We've got to keep things, we've got a show to run here, right? Can't beat it in 5 minutes. But I'm really excited to see what you guys can actually bring to the table with Eternal, seeing as you've had very limited experience, but experience nonetheless.
Yeah, they gave us enough chance to get familiar with the game, but not enough chance to really start breaking it, which is a great thing. So we're excited to definitely run it. It's going to be a good race, very close. A whole lot of stuff to see and just get through. So if you guys watched the gameplay trailer with Hugo and Marty before this, like they went through it and explained a whole lot. We're going to be running through it, but you still get to see a lot of the really cool elements of Doom Eternal. Yeah,
there's a few things in place, and you know, I guess this is going to be a little bit of a story for another time. Now, it is our final event of the day, but there are a little bit of rules in place, you know, where our runners here kind of have to hit certain milestones, so as much of the demo is seen as possible, because you know, there's a lot of good stuff in that build. But now we're here, and this is a bit of a pre-show while we get into Ultimate Doom preparations. KingDime's getting warmed up, and he's almost ready to go. Speedrunning, you know, it's been such a long-standing passion that gamers have had, and it's, you know, it started off as quite a niche thing, and now over the years, thanks like the global marathons that have been happening, you know, a couple of times a year and onwards around the world, it has become so much more than it was before, and old FPS, I think, lends itself so heavily to that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it definitely started with like Doom and Quake. Like the big forums that blew up back in the day were SDA or Speed Demos Archive. That's where the name comes from. It's from old Quake and Doom demos.
It all comes down from a Quake Done Quick, right? One of the original videos.
Quake Done Quick and then Quake Done Quicker afterwards.
When quick wasn't enough. Yeah. I guess that's the speedrun way, right? When quick's not enough, you've always got to try and beat it.
Yeah, you just keep adding ers to the end so it gets quicker and quicker.
2.0 final.
Yeah. We have this joke in one of the communities where there's two patterns, fast and slow. We translate that as fast or faster.
To be fair, I guess that's not a bad shout, really.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about the games you're going to be seeing today is, you know, playing through the entire playable history, it's the games have their own set of tricks. And if I'm sure so many of you are familiar, and you wouldn't be watching here if you weren't familiar with Doom speedrunnings in general. But each game has its own set of rules. Right, you know, where the classic Dooms are definitely a little bit faster to play through. You know, like when you watch KingDime play the games coming up soon, you know, don't blink, otherwise you'll miss it. quite literally. But then you have games like Doom 3 and Doom 2016, which are a little bit longer to complete.
Yeah, there's a lot of familiarity going between game to game. You see a lot of the same enemies, same sort of map styles. You got UAC buildings, you got Hell buildings, and Hell maps. But yeah, each one has its own type of movement. So like in classic Dooms, you can't jump. That's something you'll see in Doom 3 and Doom 2016, and you get double jumps. And you see the evolution of all the speedrunning mechanics. Things change constantly between them, but it still feels very much like Doom. Like you never go away from that core element.
I think that's what everyone's always really loved about Doom as a franchise, though, is that that's kind of, I think, what 2016 began, was that it was such a return to the foundation and what everyone loved about Doom in the first place. Then you kind of look at Doom Eternal, which has really taken that and ramped up to 11, stuck a giant fat exclamation point on the end of that title, and you've pretty much got Doom Eternal. I've just been told that we are setting up now for Ultimate Doom, the game that started it all. On a personal note, I'm actually really excited to sit here with you guys. I've been watching Doom speedruns for a really long time, never had the chance to attend a marathon or anything like that. So it really is a bit of a privilege sitting with you guys and watching some of the best classic Doom players break things down. But Ultimate Doom, it was a game really that just took the world by storm, didn't it? The amount of people that had it downloaded before they even had Windows was just one of those crazy circumstances. But I mean, what was your guys' personal experience with the very first Doom?
Well, I was just 3 years old at the time when Doom was released, and I would get on my dad's lap and watch him play. Now, I don't understand why you'd let a 3-year-old watch firsthand at that point, but he just let me watch. He would do deathmatch with one of his friends from work, and that kind of ties into a joke that we had with my dad where his friend's name was Tudor. They would do deathmatch, and Tudor would always be the Green Marine. So whenever I'd watch my dad play, I would see like, hey, look, it's Tudor on the ground. It's Tudor.
Before it was Doom Guy, it was Tudor. What about you, Thunder?
So I saw glimpses of it as a kid. I think I have it on floppy somewhere in the house, but I really didn't go back and play all the classics and start learning the runs until about a year or two ago. So it was definitely weird going back after 2016 to not have things like double jump or crouch and all this crazy stuff, but there's just something special about it even today, if you can get it running. Sometimes it's a bit tricky.
In modern times, as things change around. But I've just been told that we have actually, in fact, got KingDime on the mic and ready to go. Dime, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
So while we're here, I know you want to give a couple of personal shout-outs. If you've watched any marathon or online runs, you're probably familiar with this guy right here, one of the best classic Doom players in the business. But Ultimate Doom, give us a couple of sentences. What do you think?
Well, we have to go way back to the start. When id founded in 1991, because we had the co-founders John Carmack, John Romero, Tom Hull, and Adrian Carmack. And we started out with Wolfenstein 3D in 1992, and then had to go on and make something bigger and better coming into 1993. And then we finally got Doom, which was just insane, because you would get to the opening room and you're used to the orthogonal kind of aspects of Wolfenstein 3D. You didn't really have height variation, but in this very first room in the hangar, we've got steps going down, we have a window out to our right, we have a staircase up to an armor to our left, so I think it just blew everyone's mind to see this game for the very first time.
Well, I actually have just been informed that you are pretty much ready to go as soon as you are. Now, I'm not going to be doing a lot of commentary here. It is these fine gentlemen's jobs to break down the game, and they're more than familiar doing it now. They've been doing it for many, many years, and I'm sure will continue to do so. But Dime, when you're ready, count us in. First run of the day, let's go.
Awesome, let's do this. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start.
Here we go. Ultimate Doom, let's go. Quakecon 2019. I know there's a crowd out there. Give us some noise, folks. That's what I'm talking about.
So starting in here on map 1, like the first thing I want you to take note is that we picked up the blue mega armor, which is going to provide a damage reduction of 50%. And that is for, we're routing for map 3 in the Toxin Refinery. Because the big thing about episode 1 is we've got mostly zombie men, imps, shotgunners, and pinkies. And the main target is going to be me focusing down the shotgunners. But if I didn't have this mega armor, then I would be in serious trouble for just damage taken. But
It's really surprising how difficult episode 1 is in the speed run, because it's actually, I would say, the most difficult out of the original trilogy that came out, because there's just all these shotgunners and hit scanners, and if they decide to shoot you, you can't do anything about it other than hopefully get behind a wall in time.
So it's generally seen, right, that the hit scanners were otherwise some of the more lethal demons, right? Because it was damage you really weren't in much control of if they were in your line of sight.
No, it pretty much, it's either hit or miss. You don't have a choice about it. But like the other monsters do tons of damage too if you get hit by projectiles, because there's like intervals of damage. So an imp can do 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. So if you start to get hit by maximal damage, your routing can go out the window, because you're going to assume I'm going to take X amount of damage, and then you're just in a serious amount of trouble. But here we're at 94% at the end of E1M3, that's fantastic. Coming in here to map 4 is an interesting first skip in the game. We're going to be doing an SR50 jump to the other ledge. So there's two main types of strafe running in Doom. We have SR40 and SR50. And SR40 is, we're just using a forward input and a strafe input. And the forward input is going to give a vector of 50. If you were like holding it down, and the strafe input is a vector of 40. And if we add those together to calculate for the triangle, we go 28% faster. But there's a second, more complicated version of strafe running where we add on a strafe on button and a turn button. So we're pressing 4 inputs at once to go 41% faster. But there is one downside to this, is that when I use SR50, my angle is locked. I cannot turn Doom Guy at all. So this is, it's done for long corridors, long hallways, to save like a minor amount of time. Here we grab the,
E1M5.
oh, ow, that hurt.
Had to get a rocket shot in the face at some point.
There is a safety strat here, because Doom is a very non-linear game, so getting to 11%, we can get the 2 med hits here and still be good.
Now, demon blocking, I'm assuming, is, from what we've all seen, is quite a common occurrence in classic Doom.
Oh, all the time. But pinkies, they don't do damage unless you get hit by like their 3rd frame of animation. So if they start their bite and you move backwards, you can bait it out and take no damage. Just gonna use a rocket here in the end room to clear some pinkies, and there we're at the end of map 5 already.
So now we have a nice, interesting trick in 1-6. There's this door that comes down and it's supposed to lock you in this room for a bit, but if we let a shotgunner just kind of block the door comes up immediately and we don't have to wait at all. So that saves about 30 seconds to just be able to run straight out of the room after getting the chain gun key.
Yeah, there's special line deaths in this game where they're triggered by walking over them, shooting them, etc. So the special line death in this case just closes the door for 30 seconds. Going into a secret area here, and we're going to use a pacifist strategy when we hit the trigger, and that is to keep the imps in place. Because when we go in here, we're going to take out 1, and then we're going to take out 2 and get through. But if I shot before that, then all of the imps would have woken up, they would have gotten to the hallways and blocked me in some sort of capacity.
And these kind of movement patterns just really do scream just optimization, right? How many years it took of running Doom to figure out these patterns per map.
It's interesting to note that he took the secret to get to that area, because that actually gets him 10 extra rockets as well. So it's faster for a full game run like this than to go the intended way, because you get those extra rockets that you can use later on.
Yeah, in a normal episode 1 run, if you weren't doing the full game, so in Compa 10 rules, you only had to do E1M1 to E1M7 and time it in that regard, because there was no time for E1M8. You couldn't see it on the score screen, so you could take as long as you want to kill the 2 Barons on the last map. So you'd get speedrunners who'd say SDX Vile, he'd finish the first 7 levels in 5 minutes in-game time, and then they'd just chill out on the Barons, kill them in like a minute and a half. Don't have to worry about it. You already have the record.
I don't remember. but that record that STX Vile had stood for a long time until Zero Master finally beat it.
Yeah, it was 5 minutes. Zero Master knocked it down to 4 minutes 57 seconds, and then he knocked it down again to 4 minutes 51 seconds. But since this is, we want to destroy the Barons as fast as possible, we're going to be routing in more rockets. Okay, just going in here, destroying the hit scanners. The majority of episode 1 was mapped out by John Romero, but he had some help with Tom Hall on E1M4 and Sandy Peterson on M8 for that. But this was the shareware episode that everybody got to play for free, and it was just absurdly popular when it came out. It was said that, I believe a couple years after release, that 15 to 20 million people had played the shareware of Doom. And you got to think back in the day that not everybody had a PC, so like 15 to 20 million it's a huge number.
I guess all those little things really just all add up to what made Doom such a landmark success at such an early period. You know, and one thing I guess I'd love to ask you about is just the different weapons that you use right now. You're using the chain gun in different parts, obviously the shotgun. What are the different uses that the chain gun and the shotgun
That's episode 1.
bring?
We're already done episode 1, so on the 2, on the 2.
You know, when I said if you blink, you'll miss it. That's exactly why.
Yeah, there was a final trick there in E1M8 where you saved 12 seconds by doing that strafe jump across to the final. So there's a floor trigger when you go into that teleporter and Doom guy ends up dying. And it's, I think it's trigger 11, and when you're under 20% health, it's, you automatically win and exit out of the map. And there has been cases with this trigger where it's accidentally been placed in other maps. And so the speedrun strategy is you just get to this trigger as fast as possible, you take damage, and you win in some random location.
Not the strangest thing speedrunners have found, I'm sure.
No.
Oh, well, we'll get into that later. So moving into episode 2, Dime said episode 1 was mostly made up by John Romero and a little help from Tom Hall, but Sandy Peterson did most of the work for episodes 2 and 3, so there's a little bit of a variation in map design, especially as we move through the Moon of Deimos. Very, very different kind of aesthetic, with the moon base slowly turning into a hellish complex.
Sandy Peterson, he was picked up 10 weeks before the final release in Doom 1, and he did, I'm trying to remember the number, I think it's like 19 maps. So he was on a tight crunch period for that. We're going to fire the plasma here a couple times so that we can hopefully prevent the Pinky from doing damage to us. But this is the main strategy in episode 2, is we're picking up 140 plasma on containment area, and we want to save this for the Cyber Demon at the end of episode 2, because the plasma rifle can take him down much quicker than the rocket launcher. And also these areas too. Like, I would rather use plasma than destroying myself with face rockets. They do a lot of damage, just trust me on that.
So I guess what we got a little bit of time. Do you mind running us through the importance of tactically not alerting certain demons, right? Like, what is the benefit of not firing weapons so they don't see you and start moving?
Well, it depends on the areas, because you can get, if you have like an enclosed sector, and then say we have a door, the monsters won't be activated until you shoot inside of that, but there can be weird properties with sound blocking lines. In, say, E1M4, if you go to the central area towards the blue key and you shoot up there, you will not activate the monsters by the blue mega armor area to the west in the map. Here we go. We're going to grab this soul sphere just for a little bit of safety.
Yeah, going back to the aggression thing, there's sometimes when you actually want to draw their aggression, you just go in a room, start shooting to get them to come forward earlier.
Yeah, just do certain types of manipulations. So there was a very long-standing record on E1M1 that was beaten after 22 years by 4 shock blast. And the entire manipulation in the hangar was to shoot fairly early on to increase the RNG index, which would allow, it was the RNG index and like to manipulate the monsters to move at X time. so that he had the possibility to get 8 seconds, because he reduced it from 9 seconds by Thomas Panther to 8 seconds with Shock Blast.
So now we're getting into the first big trick of E2. We're going to see a little bit of out of bounds action, because there's a little bit of oversight in code with how it handles running against walls in certain directions. So we're going to abuse that and actually get so much speed running off a wall that we can actually get out of bounds here.
Got a Pinky behind me. He's just kind of messing me up here. But so Doom Guy, his dimensions are 32 by 32 in length and width. And so if we just look at the wall here, you can see, oh, I somehow got the Void Glide and I wasn't even looking. So I'm out of bounds.
This is normal, don't worry.
But you can see it's a northwest wall, and those are the two. Just need to increase the sound.
Okay, what he's doing right here, he's out of bounds. He's by the exit switch, but he can't actually push it unless he pushes it with the seam where the out of bounds and the switch actually are. So he needs a very specific pixel, and it's pretty tricky to find.
Come on.
There we go.
There it is. Yeah, some of these tricks will very purposefully not be making noise, so Dime can concentrate and listen for what he needs to see or hear in that case.
If he's missing the button there, you hear the grunting, so you know you're a little bit off. But if you're too far the other way, you don't hear anything, so you can kind of dial in exactly where you need to aim.
So we go from one trick to the next.
Oh,
So this is a rocket jump.
That was too far.
So
Okay.
there's no way to actually gain height in the original Doom games, but what we can do is just run really fast across big gaps as long as we have enough, some kind of boost. So we're going to use a rocket to push us over this gap and just go straight to the exit. Beautiful.
There we go.
Nice.
Second try.
Good stuff.
Yeah, those are the two big tricks of E2, and they ruin a lot of runs.
Yeah, for sure. So if you look at the intermission maps, those kind of came about because before the game was in production, Tom Hull had created the Doom Bible, and they drew out some of the intermission screens, and you see that in the final game. They were changed over time, and they have different names. But if you pay attention to episode 2 with the tower in map 8, it actually builds over time. So if you look at it in map 1, it'll have a different amount of construction compared to, say, map 4 and map 5 and so on and so forth. Okay, already into episode 3. This part is tricky because we only have a single shotgun, and the Cacodemons are very tanky. They have 400 HP, and they can do up to 60 damage on a melee attack, which I just took max damage there. But the single shotty shoots 7 pellets, which do 5, 10, or 15 damage. So I can do 30 to 105. Cacodemon with 400 health. It's going to take me likely 5 or 6 shots to take out the Cacodemon.
Yeah, even getting through that long hallway of pinkies, they can die in either 2 or 3 hits, just depending on how good your luck is. So a lot of your time is dictated just by that randomness.
So, at the risk of stating the obvious, Dime, run us by those safety saves and why they're important.
Well, routing through health and everything, like if I, get low, I can't necessarily say that I won't just get very bad luck. And sometimes you can get unfortunate events that are, it's just tricky to be prepared for. But if you die and you don't have the saves, you go back to a pistol start. And I think generally, like, we're trying to show off the tricks, and we're trying to have like a fun flow for the run for the audience to watch. So if we were just constantly going back to pistol starts, I was having like a rough run, I don't know, I just feel like it's no fun for anyone unless they just like to see me go through pain. I don't know.
I guess it's fun for some people, but not necessarily for the right reasons.
I guess that's kind of ironic considering the next map is House of Pain.
Good point. Speaking of which, here we go.
Yeah, every time I go and do these like shows, GDQs, or like here at Quakecon, it's really about just showing off the run and not going for a perfect world record pace. Because so many things can go wrong that lose you 1 second here, 2 seconds there. It's very unlikely to happen. So we just go for a run that showcases all the tricks, shows off really cool things about the game that you necessarily wouldn't see playing through casually.
Yeah, I think I always thought from a viewer's perspective it's a better approach, right? Because we're here at Quakecon today. This is a celebration of Doom. You know,
Right.
so the better the game can be demonstrated, especially at this level, the better, I think.
Nope. Missed that one. We're doing a backwards SR50 to grab the yellow key. And you're going to see a different variation of this trick on E4M1. So in that case, we get like a single attempt to get our bounding box enough over the wall to get the yellow key. So with SR50, your movement is like 23.5 units per tick. And the key is, say, 16 units behind the wall, so your bounding box goes 23.5 over, so that's going to overlap with the key, and we can grab it through the wall. Get the blue key here. For the longest time, I didn't know how to play this level casually. I just didn't understand it, all the teleporters in that central area. And then I finally figured out that the progression path, the teleporters are lit up. So that took me 24 years to learn.
That's also a first for me too, because that's by far the level I struggled on the most as a kid.
Oh, the best, best texture ever, Fire Blue. It's likely going to be a hit on encoding, but Fire Blue is
You gotta look at it.
Powerful. Oh, oh shoot. Let's reload
there.
for health.
Take two, cut.
Yeah, I forgot the red key in TNT in the most recent marathon on map 2, so we had to do a repeat, do an encore.
It just means we get to see more Doom. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, we're just going to see this great texture again.
Yeah, speaking of blue, you know.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, we just forgot to go to the opposite side.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
There we go, we're done.
I think it was Mount Erebus when Sandy Peterson was coming into id Software. That was, I think that was the initial design that he used, but the first map that he created was E2M6, Halls of the Damned. And there's this funny story by Sandy where you kind of go into the initial area, you pick up the Berserk pack, and then you go into this long nukage hallway, and I gotta remember the maze. Oh boy. I just get talking and it's like, oh, where was it going? There we go.
There you go.
We found
the
it.
way.
It's all red, so I don't know. You get a little bit out of the way, and
They need to throw some blue in there. Mix
I
it
was
up.
going to say you were seeing red, but I didn't want anyone to hate me for that sentence.
but Sandy was creating Halls of the Damned, and then somebody else on id was reminding him to put micro detailing into his map. So Sandy just finds this big kind of square room which just has nukage, and he puts one corpse at the top. And he's like, yeah, I'm done.
Hey, if you're on a time crunch, you gotta do it.
I have to be careful here, because if I go too far when this bridge is up, like if I fell off there, it's like a soft lock. I can't get out. It's inescapable.
So we're coming up to the boss of episode 3.
Yeah, hardest boss ever. Very tricky, I promise you.
So there's the mastermind.
Yeah.
And-
Well, this is awkward. There we go.
Believe it or not, he actually lasted about 3 times as long as he's supposed to there.
Yeah. Like you said, it was tricky.
So now we're going to E4, which is the expansion episode that was added later when Ultimate Doom was released. And it's quite difficult. By far more difficult than the original 3 episodes.
Oh, for sure.
Especially
Yeah.
this first map. You get 1 green armor and something like 6% health. And that's it.
But yeah, so the Ultimate Doom Thy Flesh Consume came out in 1995. So there's many additional members now in id Software at this point. So we've got Sean Green, Dave Taylor, Tim Willits,
There's American McGeehan.
Donna Jackson, there's Kevin Cloud there. I'm forgetting one. Forgetting one, I know. But yeah, this was a speed map by John Romero, which took 6 hours for him to create the map, and it's, I'd say, arguably the most difficult in the set. This one or E4M6, but we can grab a BFG, throw him in the wall from the Cyber Demon just behind him. Gonna use that, jump past the blue key bars, and finish it off all in about 30 seconds.
BFG in particular always has that interesting trick where it's not necessarily about the initial blast, right? It's about your line of sight afterwards.
Yes, initially, right when you shoot the BFG.
Hey,
Nice.
First try.
Yeah, he just rocket boosted off of a Lost Soul, and the Lost Soul's movement is a bit random, so he has to kind of adjust on the fly. Then get that first try is really, really good.
Yeah, I recall that took a fair attempt for the Dime yesterday during practice, but getting it first try today was wicked.
Yeah, yesterday during practice, it was like a full minute and
I
a
see
couple
what
of
you did
attempts.
there.
That's why I do the additional safety save on the Lost Soul, because if it gets out of position, I just might not physically be able to complete the trick. So we add in a safety precaution. E4M4, oh, American McGee. I believe that's who I forgot. So E4M4 is American McGee, and then we have a Tim Willits map on E4M5.
Shout out to Tim Willits, of course.
Yeah, your first experience with Tim might have been his maps in the master levels for Doom 2, E4M5, or E4M9 in episode 4. But over here, we're going to go up here to grab the red key, and then we're going to take advantage of the BFG. So we were talking about, like, initially when we shoot the main projectile, that's going to determine the angle of where the rays of the BFG will emanate from Doom Guy. So if I shot it in a north direction, and I turned around with Doom Guy, the rays would still emanate north. So you could literally take Doom Guy and like kill a Cyber Demon with Doom Guy's ass, like if you wanted to. Most difficult map in the set because of, I call it the prime Cyber Demon, in his marble throne room, just ready to mess up any and every speedrun. But we're doing some major skips here. So you see the teleporter in the middle of the map, and that's the main gimmick, where whatever direction that you get on the teleporter pad will teleport you in a different way. I don't like this. I'm doing that.
Yeah, he's basically going to be fighting a Cyber Demon at pretty much point-blank range with not a lot of room to move, and the splash damage from the rockets could easily kill him from his health, so it's going to be a little tricky.
He's also left a lot of enemies alive in the other parts of the map, so they're shooting over at him now. So if he just goes to fight the Cyber Demon, he has to worry about them as well. So it takes health. It's very risky.
Oh, he's fighting the Kako, so they're doing this job for him. Oh,
Because there's hit scanners too in the back. We might have to restart this level. We might.
we'll see if he can pull it off.
Oh, the
Almost
double
done.
KO.
Let's do a map restart, I would say. Have it, okay, good. Thankfully. Just a tough Cyber Demon. So rockets from Cyber Demons have a splash component and a direct damage component. And the splash damage has a wide radius. So when you're fighting them in that small room and you're not getting the invulnerability on this map, you have to be quite careful with your movement. But say if the Cyber Demon is too far back in the room, his rockets will instead hit the staircase and still do splash damage to you. So like sitting there at 45% health or 18% health, I can't really mitigate any of that damage anymore or have any buffer zone. Try it.
Oh,
There
wow.
we go, nice.
Great job, Dime. Good stuff. Well done.
I didn't deserve it, but I'll take it. Okay, if you take a large amount of damage from the cyber, we have to go the right path to get the Berserk pack. I'm gonna grab the blue mega armor too, because we're gonna be doing a trick where we do a lineup on the door, where we're looking at a certain column of pixels to do a strafe jump to the end. And this can be confusing for new players, because if you just go and you buy Doom on whatever service that... It was so unlucky.
Oh my word.
Just got the shotgunner in my way. But if you just go and you turn on the game, it's going to feature different movement than if you started a demo recording with a batch file, because your turning resolution is different. So like very often I'll see a new Doom speedrunner just come and begin the game, and they don't really understand like why the tricks aren't working. That's because they haven't started recording a demo. There we got it that time.
Yeah, just to expand on that trick, the exit switch is actually in the floor and it's supposed to rise up, but you can still trigger it even when it's in the floor. So you can just do a little bit of a sequence break, jump across that gap, and then just hit it right then and there and end the map.
Yeah, Doom has some 3D elements, but it's got a very rudimentary Z-axis, so you cannot do certain things. You can't build sectors on top of each other. Monsters have infinite height. We have auto-aim on our weapons, or vertical auto-aim. Got the Bruiser Bros in front of me, just trying to prevent me from getting to the end.
So one last rocket jump coming up here. It just saves us a little time before we get into the other key.
Yeah, just to skip out on the red key. There.
Nice.
Nice.
In the final fight.
And one last mastermind. That's revenge for
There we
Daisy.
go.
And done. Time.
There we go. Ultimate Doom. That was, I believe, a 2740, I believe.
2740, yeah, absolutely blame the Cyber Demon on that one. I get to that room, and I've got like average splits in my live split at home. And you know, most maps will be pretty similar. There'll be like a little bit of red and a little bit of green, but I'll like finish off the Cyber Demon on E4M6 and then suddenly gain 90 seconds in my average splits, because it's just that,
He's soul crushing.
that difficult.
Now, it's, of course, this was only the first game we're having today, and it's actually not the last game that Dime's going to be running. He's actually be jumping straight into Doom 2, where things actually get significantly harder. You know, this was almost, in many ways, kind of an appetizer, really, where there's, you know, granted it was a difficult game to get through. There are a couple of maps that were sort of giving him trouble, as they always do, but Doom 2 has some new demons, which can introduce quite a few obstacles. So while we set up our second game of the day, we're going to go for a quick break, but make sure you don't go anywhere, because the Doom Celebration Day here at QuakeCon 2019 will be back very, very shortly, and we'll see you in a few minutes.